The recording.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naran Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayat Bhagavate Uttama-sloke Bhaktir-bhavati Naishtiki. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Namo Pankajanabhaya Namo Pankajamalini Namo Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangri. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 20, verses 23 to 34. Bali Maharaja surrenders the universe. Text 23. Thereafter, Bali Maharaja, who was occupying the seat of King Indra, could see the lower planetary systems, such as Rasatala, on the soles of the feet of the Lord's universal form. He saw on the Lord's feet the surface of the globe, on the surface of his calves all the mountains, on his knees the various birds, and on his thighs the variety of airs. Text 24. Bali Maharaja saw beneath the Bali Maharaja saw beneath the garments of the Lord, who acts wonderfully the evening twilight. In the Lord's private parts, he saw the Prajapatis, and in the round portions of his waist, he saw himself with his confidential associates. In the Lord's navel, he saw the sky, and on the waist of the on the Lord's waist he saw the seven oceans, and on the Lord's bosoms he saw all the clusters of stars. Text 25 to 29. My dear king, on the heart of Lord Murari he saw religion, on the chest both pleasing words and truthfulness, in the mind the moon, on the bosom the goddess of fortune with the lotus flower in her hand, on the neck all the Vedas and all sounds vibrations, on the arms all the demigods headed by King Indra, in both ears all the directions, on the head, the upper planetary system. On the hair, the clouds. In the nostrils, the wind. On the eyes, the sun. And in in the mouth, fire. From his words came all the Vedic mantras. On his tongue was the demigod of water, Varuna Deva. On his eyebrows were the regulative principles, and on his eyelids were the day and night, which is when his eyes were open, it was daytime, and when they were closed, it was night. On his forehead was anger, and on his lips was greed. O king, in his touch were lusty desires. In his semen were all the waters. On his back was irreligion, and in his wonderful activities or steps was the fire of the sacrifice. On his shadows was death. In his smile was the illusionary energy, and on his hair of his body were all the drugs and herbs. In in his veins were all the rivers. Uh, on his nails were all the stones. In his intelligence were Lord Brahma, the demigods and the great saintly persons. And throughout his entire body and senses were all living entities, moving and stationary. Bali Maharaja thus saw everything in the gigantic body of the Lord. Text 30. O king, when all the demons, the followers of Maharaja Bali, saw the universal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who held everything within his body, when he saw in the Lord's hand his disc known as the Sudarshana Chakra, which generates the intolerable heat, and when they heard the tumultuous sound of his bow, of all of this caused lamentation within their hearts. Text 31. The Lord's conch named Panchajanya, which made sounds like that of the cloud, and the very forceful club named Kaumodaki, the sword named Vidyadhara, with a shield decorated with the hundreds of moon-like spots, and also Akshayaksaka, the best of quivers. All these appear together to offer prayers to the Lord. Text 32 to 33. These associates, headed by Sunanda and others chief associates, and accompanied by all the predominating deities of the various planets, offer prayers to the Lord, who wore a brilliant helmet, bracelets, and glittering earrings that resemble fish. On the Lord's bosom were the locks of hair called Srivatsa and the transcendental jewel named Kaustuba. He wore a yellow garment covered by a belt, and he was decorated by a flower garland surrounded by peace. Manifesting himself in this way, O King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose activities are wonderful, covered the entire surface of the earth with one footstep, the sky with his body, and all directions with his arms. Text 34. As the Lord took his second step, he covered the heavenly planets, and not even a spot remained for the third step. Further, Lord's foot extended higher and higher beyond Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and even Satyaloka. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 20, entitled Bali Maharaja Surrenders the Universe. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Swamini Gopi Mataji. Hare Krishna, Vamsi, Vadan Prabhuji. Please accept our humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Please take over the call, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. And offer prayers before we begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranatakleshaya Nashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namaha Pankajanabhaya Namaha Pankajamarine Namaha Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangraye Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we are just continuing to study Srimad Bhagavatam. Chapter 20, Bali Maharaj surrenders the universe. So we are continuing from 24, verse 24 onwards. So just to recap, when Bali Maharaj requested Lord Vamanadev that I am ready to give anything for you, anything to you, and Lord Vamanadev says, I just want 3 pieces of land. And despite the warning of the spiritual master of Sri Bali Maharaj wanted to give everything to Lord Vishnu. We saw in the previous verses the exalted qualities that Bali Maharaj was exhibiting, even though he was in the body of a demon. A lot of lessons for us to learn. These are the qualities that we aspire to cultivate while practicing Krishna consciousness, right? And these qualities attract Krishna. Because Bali Maharaj went to the extent of rejecting his spiritual master also because he wanted to please Krishna. He didn't do it whimsically because his guru, with all due respects to Shukracharya, he told him that if you give, this is Lord Vishnu himself, he will take everything from you. But Bali Maharaj wanted to surrender everything to Lord Vishnu. And Krishna sees the intent of the devotee. As spiritual master, he says that the whole world will see what we do externally, what I say externally. But Krishna sees from within. Nobody can see what only Krishna can see. So Krishna knew the heart of Bali Maharaj. So Lord Vamanadev assumed, we saw in the text 21 verse, he assumed the form of Vamana because he was in the form of dwarf incarnation as a simple Brahmana boy. Then he began increasing in size, acting in terms of material energy until everything in the universe was within his body, including the earth that we live in, all the planetary systems within this universe, the sky, the directions, the various holes in the universe, the seas, the oceans, the beasts, the birds, human beings, demigods, and the great saintly persons. Krishna became so big that he covered the entire material creation. And in text 22, Bali Maharaj, along with the priests and acharyas, members of the assembly, observed the Supreme Personality of Godhead's universal body, which was full of 6 opulences. That body contained everything within the universe, including all the gross material elements, the senses, the sense objects, the mind, intelligence, and false ego, the various kinds of living entities, and the actions and reactions of the 3 modes of material nature. Bali Maharaj saw everything. Krishna tells the same thing in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Bhumir apo analo vayu kam manor buddhi revacha ahankara iti yamme binna prakriti ashtata. That earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego are all Krishna's energy. External energy, but it belongs to Krishna. So Bali Maharaj saw all this with his very own eyes. One very exalted disciple of Srila Prabhupada, he mentions that in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells that because Arjuna also wanted to see the universal form, isn't it? In Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna also wanted to see his divine form. But Krishna says that I will give you the eyes to see that form. So it is not so easy to see even the universal form of Krishna. We will read one Srila Prabhupada's purport. What is this universal form? In text 23, thereafter Bali Maharaj, who was occupying the seat of King Indra, could see the lower planetary systems such as Rasatal on the soles of the feet of the Lord's universal form. He saw on the Lord's feet the surface of the globe, on the surface of his calves all the mountains, on his knees the various birds, on his thighs the varieties of air. Text 24. Bali Maharaj saw beneath the garments of the Lord, who acts wonderfully the evening twilight, In the Lord's private parts, he saw the Prajapatis. And in the round portion of the waist, he saw himself in his confidential associates. In the Lord's navel, he saw the sky. The Lord's waist, he saw the seven oceans. And on the Lord's bosom, he saw all the clusters of the stars. And then in text 25 to 29, again descriptions of all the different portions of the universal body is given, and it represents what is given. For example, truth in the mind, in the universal form, in the mind of Krishna, the moon, and on his chest, both pleasing words and truthfulness. We can remember all these things because we often hear, if we are truthful and if we speak pleasingly, it pleases Krishna. Why? Because it represents the chest of Krishna. We can remember all these things, we can meditate on these things, but we should try to understand nicely what this universal form is from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam and through the eyes of our acharyas like Srila Prabhupada. In the first canto of the third chapter, in verse 30, Bhagavatam itself explains what this universal form is. The conception of the Virat universal form of the Lord as appearing in the material world is imaginary. It is to enable the less intelligent and neophytes to adjust to the idea of the Lord's having a form. But factually, the Lord has no material form. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. We should very nicely understand this. The conception of the Lord known as the Vishwaroop or Virat Roop is particularly not mentioned along with the various incarnations of the Lord, because all the incarnations of the Lord mentioned above, because in the third chapter, all the Leela avatars are mentioned in the Bhagavatam, are transcendental, and there is no tinge of materialism in their bodies. We should not think that Krishna's body is made of bones and flesh and pus and urine like us, because if there is a scratch on our body, there is profuse bleeding and we feel so much pain, we need to be taken to the hospital. If there is a small toothache, we need to be taken to the dentist. But Krishna's body is not like that. Krishna and all his avatars that we hear from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam are all transcendental. Their bodies are not material like us. It may appear like that because of our conditioned eyes, but we have to hear and understand and put our faith based on Shastra, not based on our own mind. There is no difference between the body and the self as it is in the conditioned soul like us. The Virat Roop is conceived for those who are neophyte worshippers. For them, the material Virat Roop is presented, and it will be explained in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Detailed explanations will be given in the second canto. But in the Virat Roop, the material manifestations of different planets have been conceived, like we are reading now, right? Like what Bali Maharaj is seeing as his legs, his hands, etc. Actually, all such descriptions are for the neophytes. Neophytes means because in the beginning stages, we are not given the mercy of the Acharyas and Krishna to really understand that Krishna actually has a form. We should not think that neophytes means it's just somebody outside. Even in the beginning stages of our bhakti, we cannot really put our faith that Krishna actually has a form. Why? Because Krishna doesn't reveal himself to us so easily. Yes, bhakti we chant, but as our hearts get purified gradually, Krishna reveals himself gradually to us. That is the process of bhakti. It's a descending process. It's not that we start studying Srimad Bhagavatam, we start chanting Hare Krishna and immediately we see Krishna. It doesn't work like that. Very rare souls. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yadati sittaye yatatam api siddhanam kashim mam veti tatvatah. Very, very rare souls who are perfect, who have perfected their lives very quickly, like Dhruva Maharaj in 6 months. Right? Very rare. But for most of us, it's a gradual process. So that is why Srimad Bhagavatam also, for several reasons, Shukadeva Goswami talks about the Virat Roop even in the beginning stages of Srimad Bhagavatam. There are many reasons, because there were so many other sages who are also having that conception sitting in front of him and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. The material conception of the Lord is not counted in the list of his actual factual forms. This needs to be understood very nicely. Srila Prabhupada is saying that all this Virat Roop is just a temporary form within this universe. They don't exist in the spiritual world. That is why Srila Prabhupada is saying it is not counted in the list of his factual forms. Factual forms means the forms which eternally exist in the spiritual world. The Virat Roop does not exist in the spiritual world. It is for personalities who are practicing bhakti in the initial stage or who are not practicing bhakti, who don't have the conception that Krishna has a transcendental form. For such personalities, this Virat Roop is personally present within this universe. See how Krishna is so kind. That is why it is said that Krishna is not envious to anybody. He is not partial to anybody. Krishna himself tells us in the Bhagavad Gita, Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu. He understands the stages of the people's consciousness. And Krishna is so kind that he wants to give opportunity to everyone to gradually come closer towards him. This is a loving father, right? A father doesn't want to reject anybody. So he wants to gradually pull us. As Paramatma or Super Soul, the Lord is within each and every material form, even within the atoms. In Brahma Samhita, right, it is said Krishna is there within every atom. Andantarastha paramanu chayantarastam govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. That Krishna expands as Shirodakashai Vishnu, and he is there within every single atom. But the outward material form is but an imagination. The universal form is just an imaginative form for worshippers who cannot perceive the personal form of the Lord. Both for the Lord and for the living being. The present forms of the conditioned souls are also not factual. This form is also not factual. We are believing that I am this body. But none of us have the realization that we are not this body. It's so easy to say, I am not this body. But have you realized it? The conclusion is that the material conception of the body of the Lord as Virat is imaginary. Both the Lord and the living beings are living spirits and have original spiritual bodies. We have to aspire to come to this consciousness. We are not this body. My spiritual master, he says that we have to practice ourselves telling that we are not this body. So many speakers tell this. It's so easy to say that we are not this body. But we have to remind ourselves, because this world and this environment is so captivating that we can easily get succumbed to this environment. We have to remind ourselves that we are not this body. We are meant to be eternally serving Krishna. We have to keep reminding ourselves. And in text 31, Bali Maharaj also saw the associates headed by Sunanda and other chief associates and accompanied by the predominating deities of the various planets offering prayers to the Lord, who wore a brilliant helmet. See, now some description is given. Virat Roop means it's not some imaginary light. Even in an imaginary form, Krishna is mercifully showing his form. Right? He's showing he has a brilliant helmet, bracelets, glittering earrings resembling a fish, Makara. Always Krishna wears shark-shaped earrings. On the Lord's bosom were the lock of a hair called Srivatsa and the transcendental jewel named Kaustuba. He wore a yellow garment covered by a belt, and he was decorated with flower garlands surrounded by bees. Manifesting himself in this way, O King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose activities are wonderful, covered the entire surface of the earth with one foot, the sky with his body, and all other directions with his arms. Srila Prabhupada quotes Srila Jiva Goswami in the purport. Now Prabhupada is asking a very interesting question. One might argue, since Bali Maharaj promised Vamanadev only the land occupied by his steps. Why did Lord Vamanadev occupy the sky also? Because he just asked for 3 steps of land. Why did he occupy the sky? Interesting question, right? Prabhupada is raising. In this regard, Srila Jiva Goswami says that the steps including everything downward and upward. When one stands up, he certainly occupies certain parts of the sky, isn't it? We may not touch the actual sky, but we are on the sky. We are not on the land only. And certain portions of the earth below his feet. Thus, there was nothing uncommon for the Supreme Personality of Godhead when he occupied the entire sky with his body. Krishna can do anything. Krishna is a master. In so many pastimes, you see, Krishna is a master. Whatever he says, he can do multiple things in the words that he speaks. If Krishna, that's why it is said, if Krishna wants to cheat us, he is the greatest cheater. Krishna tells that I am the greatest, I am the cheaters of the cheater in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna can cheat anybody very easily. And in text 34, as the Lord took his second step, he covered the heavenly planets, and not even a spot remained for the third step. Now everything is covered. For the Lord's foot extended higher and higher beyond the earthly realm, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and even Satyaloka, even not Brahma's planet. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When the Lord's foot exceeded the highest of all lokas, including Mahar, Jana, Tapa, and Satyaloka, his nails certainly pierced the covering of the universe. The universe is covered by the 5 elements. We discussed, right? Bhumi, Rapo, Analo, Vayu, Kam. As stated in the Shastra, these elements are in layers, each 10 times thicker than the previous one. Bhagavatam explains in the 5th canto that after all the planetary systems, topmost planet being the Satyaloka where Lord Brahma lives, beyond that there are coverings of earth, water, fire, air, ether, each layer 10 times thicker than the previous layer. Nonetheless, the nail of Krishna or Lord Vamanadev pierced through all these layers and made a hole penetrating into the spiritual world. From this hole, the water of the Ganga flows into this material world. Therefore, it is called Padanaka Neera Janita Jana Pavana. Prabhupada is quoting Dashavatar Stotra. Because the Lord kicked a hole in the covering of the universe, the water of the Ganga came into this material world to deliver the fallen soul. See, Krishna always, in one pastime, he does so many things. And in this pastime, along with delivering Bali Maharaj, we will see how he gets delivered in the future verses. But along with the deliverance of Bali Maharaj, Mother Ganga descends into this material world. And in the ninth canto, we will see how this is the origin of Mother Ganga's entry into this material world. But how does she enter into this earthly planet that we are living? We will see in the ninth canto. I don't want to spoil the future speakers. They might speak in a better way to describe about the pastime. But because we are speaking about Mother Ganga and she has entered into this material world, I wanted to read these verses from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. How Mother Ganga is assisting. See, Krishna and all his eternal devotees who are coming into this world, they always want to assist Krishna in his pastimes. When Mother Ganga is coming into this world, yes, she wants to deliver us by giving her mercy, but she also at the same time wants to assist Krishna in her pastimes. And in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, several reasons are explained for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's existence or why he appeared in this material world. Yesterday we celebrated Sri Radhashtami. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is combined form of Radha and Krishna. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami tells that Krishna was contemplating. Well, I spoke the Bhagavad Gita, but I have not showed people how people have to be devotees. So Krishna decides to come. But how did he descend into this material world? Srila Advaita Acharya is an incarnation of Mahavishnu and Sadashiv combination, and he has already appeared, and he along with some devotees are praying, and they are setting the stage for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to appear. And we will see in these 10 verses what is he doing now. Advaita Acharya's heart was breaking. Everyone was engaged in material enjoyment, whether sinfully or virtuously. No one was interested in the transcendental service of the Lord, which gave total relief from the repetition of birth and death. Seeing the activities of the world, the Acharya felt compassion and began to ponder how he could act for the people's benefit. This Prabhupada writes in the purport, this is the heart of an Acharya. Srila Prabhupada also had the same heart. An Acharya wants to save the conditioned souls of this world. They cannot just remain silent, be happy for themselves. There is a true nature of an Acharya, like Srila Prabhupada, right? In text 99, Advaita Acharya thought, if Sri Krishna were to appear as an incarnation, he himself could preach devotion by his personal example. See? Advaita Acharya is telling, if Krishna can come, he can preach bhakti. In this age of Kali, there is no religion other than the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. But how in this age will the Lord appear as incarnation? I shall worship Krishna in a purified state of mind. I shall constantly petition him in humbleness. Now, Srila Advaita Acharya is telling, I will worship Krishna in a purified state of mind. Our mind should be purified. That is a process of bhakti. Then Krishna will appear. My name, Advaita, will be fitting if I am able to induce Krishna to inaugurate the moment of the chanting of the holy name. Srila Advaita Acharya, he is in an incarnation of a devotee, and he is saying that my name, Advaita, that name will be fulfilled if I induce Krishna to appear in this world to inaugurate the moment of the chanting of the holy name. That Mahavishnu, he is praying, let Krishna descend. Then the chanting of the holy name will begin. While he was thinking about how to propitiate Krishna by worship, the following verse came to his mind. He was contemplating, how do I start worshipping Krishna? And this very famous verse we should remember. Tulasi dalamatrena jalasya chulukena va vikrinite swamatmanam bhaktebhyo bhaktavatsalaha. Sri Krishna, who is very affectionate towards his devotees, sells himself to a devotee who offers him merely a tulsi leaf and a palm full of water. So Srila Advaita Acharya is worshipping his Shaligram Shila that he is having along with tulsi leaves and water. Srila Advaita Acharya considered the meaning of this verse in this way. Not finding any way to repay the debt he owes to one who offers him a tulsi leaf and water, Lord Krishna is thinking, there is no wealth in my possession that is equal to a tulsi leaf and a water. Srila Prabhupada, in some purports, he says that we don't have to be so big to please Krishna. We don't need to be a billionaire to please Krishna. Krishna is simply pleased if we offer with devotion to him simple water and tulsi leaf. Krishna himself is telling there is no wealth in my possession that is equal to a tulsi leaf and a water. Krishna's words these are. Thus the Lord liquidates the debt by offering himself to the devotee. Considering in this way, Srila Advaita Acharya began worshipping the Lord. We don't have the time to read all the wonderful purports of Srila Prabhupada in this verses. Thinking of the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, he constantly offered tulsi buds in the water of the Ganges, tulsi manjari, in water from the Ganges. So he is offering Ganga water and tulsi manjaris to Krishna in the form of his Shaligram Shila. He appealed to Krishna with loud calls and thus made it possible for Krishna to appear. Therefore, the principal reason for Krishna to descend in this appeal by Srila Advaita Acharya, the Lord, the protector of religion, appears by the desire of his devotee. Krishna appeared because it was a desire of his pure devotee. That's why Krishna appeared. And in what form he appears? Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita hrit saroja ashe sutekshita pato nanunata pumsam yadyadiyata durgaya vibhavayanti tad vapu pranayase sad anugrahaya. O my Lord, you always dwell in the vision and hearing of your pure devotees. Srila Advaita Acharya is coming as a pure devotee in this world. You also live in their lotus-like hearts, which are purified by devotional service. O my Lord, who are glorified by exalted prayers, you show special favor to your devotees by manifesting yourself in the eternal forms in which they welcome you. So Prabhupada writes a brilliant purport that Krishna appears in the form, in the heart of a devotee according to the devotee's nature and transcendental love. And in the form, Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, Brajendranandan Krishna. But he has innumerable forms, Prabhupada explains in the purport. So according to the attachment for a devotee in their heart, Krishna appears in that form, in the heart of a devotee. Once Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, this I heard from his spiritual master, that Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, he asked Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, is Krishna within my heart having 4 hands? Is he in four-arm form? Prabhupada knew the heart of Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. He says, no, Krishna is having 2 hands playing flute in your heart. Because Guru knows the heart of a devotee. Even we don't know what is going through in our heart. The essence of meaning of this verse is that Lord Krishna appears in all his innumerable eternal forms because of the desire of his pure devotees. So the point I want to mention in today's verse is that Srila Advaita Acharya used Ganga Jal and Tulsi Manjari to invite Krishna into this material world. So we saw in today's verse that Ganga appears just by the tip of the toe of the nails of Lord Vamanadev, cracking the top of the universe, and Mother Ganga enters into this universe. And finally, when she lands on this earth, we will see the pastime in the 9th canto. Later, after several thousands of years, Srila Advaita Acharya is using the same Mother Ganga and Tulsi Manjaris to invite Krishna into this material world. That is why Krishna tells that Krishna is the enjoyer, Krishna is the maintainer, and Krishna is the proprietor of everything in this material world. Everything has to be used in the service of Krishna, and that we can learn only from the pure devotees and the eternal associates of Krishna who are coming and showing us by example of what to do. I'll pause here. I'm sorry I went over by a few minutes. I just wanted to glorify Mother Ganga through this pastime. I'll pause here. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्ण।
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much, Prabhuji, for a very beautiful class.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you all devotees for joining the class.